Welcome to the Knights of the Wrong Table podcast. As always, I'm John.
I am Randall.
And we were giving the listeners a little bit of a break to catch up on some of our episodes. I know it's been a while since we talked. We got a lot to cover this week. We'll start off with fantasy because it's actually my toilet bowl team has actually turned it around a little bit here, sitting in tied for third place at 7-4. I think I'm right. Are you 7-4 as well, Randall?
No, actually, I am 6-5 because I've had a catastrophic implosion on my team.
Yes.
And,
well, it started with Lamar.
Catch a win to save my life.
Who else you got here? I'm trying to find you here. What has happened? Bring the listeners up to speed on your team.
Well, when the injury
you
bug
changed
bites,
your name. You changed your name to Jacoby Mgatu.
Jacobim.
That's right, Jacoby Mgatu.
Yeah, when I drink lattes, I get farty and bloaty, So I just I figured let's commit to the role and go Mugatu.
Man,
I started out the season really well at 5-0, slaughtering everyone. In the past 6 weeks, I've caught one win, and that one win was by 0.6 points. Now, that being said, of my 5 losses, 4 of which I scored over 120 points. So I'm not putting up points. I'm just getting beat by people. That's been the history of my team though. This last 6 weeks here, it's been pretty rough.
Has it been that long since we've been on?
Unfortunate week where I didn't put up anything.
When was our last episode? Was it that long ago now? It hadn't been 6 weeks. It's been like 4, right?
Yeah, it's been about a month.
And about a month.
But no, the losses have not stopped since they started. Is what I'm trying to say. I got bit by some injury bugs. I lost Kincaid, Jacobs, Stroud. Jackson was down for several weeks, and then when he came back, it was very lackluster. Might as well have stayed in the locker room. That was horrible. So yeah, I've had a go of it.
And I've had a string of luck as the league's Jonathan Taylor owner. I was lucky enough to eke out a win without him, which was nice. To Reggie's demise. Sorry, Reggie. I think I was playing Reggie that week. But Jonathan Taylor has been back off of or is coming off bye week. Yeah, is coming off bye week. And right, I can't remember. Was his bye week last week? Let's check here. Yeah, bye week was last week. So coming off a bye. Got Cooper Kupp off of injury, picked him up off of the waivers. We'll see how he does. Just my running back squad has been good with Barkley and Taylor. And then picked up at QB Mills filling in for Houston. So that's been pretty good. I was actually able to find a quarterback, which is tough. So picked him up. Actually,
yeah, he whomped on Josh Allen last night. He played a lot better than Josh Allen did. That's for sure.
Yep, sure did. What was it? Josh Allen with how many? With 4 turnovers.
He had eight sacks and I think it was 3 interceptions, maybe 4.
Yeah, and then going down to score, right? And then
one of them was a pick 6 that got called back for a block in the back too, so that could have been a lot worse. I had Dalton Schultz in the game last night, and I picked him up trying to fill in for Kincaid, and I got all excited because I saw Schultz in his past 3 weeks with Davis Mills, your guy as quarterback, had 8 targets, 11 targets, and 9 targets, and then I was like, hell yeah, that's some usage. I pick him up, he gets 3 targets for 1 catch for 8 yards.
That's how the cookie crumbles, man. I picked up Nick Chubb after number 1 went down in an injury there, and Who
are you playing this week?
I am playing Canada A.
Oh, it's Isaac.
Isaac, yeah, playing him. So that's gonna be a good matchup this week.
Yeah, 7-4 versus 7-4, number 3 versus number 5. It's a good looking little group there.
And that'll put, depending, let's see here. So me and Isaac, and then let's see who else is in number 4. James is 7-4. So yeah, either me or Isaac is going to move to 8-4, and then depending what let's see here. Depending on what James does, if he wins or not. So we'll see if
So
I'm either tied first. If I win, it'll either be tied for third still, or potentially solid at third.
so we had as the majority whip for our league, as I'm no longer commissioner.
Okay.
Well, I'm not. I was the commissioner of our league for several years, and then there were
The commissioner still lives in the same house, buddy.
there were allegations of corruption which were proven unfounded.
The
But
articles of impeachment did not move
but
through the
out of
Senate.
respect and frustration, frankly, for the allegations to even be brought up, I decided to resign from commissioner, and to keep my hands extra clean of it, I abstained from the vote for commissioner. Right? Now, my wife was then nominated,
My wife.
with a couple other people, and a vote came down, and my wife won without any vote from me.
There you go.
So she promoted me because I have a bit of a mouth to be her mouthpiece. I'm her majority whip, as we call it here in the house. So I kind of help wrangle things, but she's the end all decision. But something was brought to her attention, which was then brought to my attention for some possible tomfoolery in this league this year.
Uh-oh. What's going on?
So
this is news. This is news to me. I don't know if I've been keeping up on the trade transactions or the transactions.
yeah, have you seen the most recent trades that have come through? So there's one on the table that I think that goes through in a day or two. That's kind of meaningless. It was a trade for a backup running back for a backup wide receiver. Doesn't matter. The trade before it was the current team in ninth, who's fighting for his playoff life, and our former champion, our last year, and our incumbent champion, Chris, made a trade with our last place 1-10 Tom. That trade was for a starting wide receiver for a low to mid grade starting running back. However, the reasons for the fishiness is, first off, Tom is in last place, so any trade he makes is instantly scrutinized. But the team that had Tom, so it was T. Higgins for Travis Etienne Jr. The team that was receiving T. Higgins also has Flacco. And at the time, Tom had 3 empty bench slots because he just stopped picking people up, right? So he obviously doesn't give a shit about his team because he's not picking people up.
Apparently he really wants to run a 5K, so.
But he's making trades to a team who's fighting for playoffs, mind you.
Collusion.
And then to make it even more fishy, I had been trying to trade with Tom. But my trade was above board. And I was texting him back and forth trying to work out, could we do this? Could we do that kind of thing? And when the trade came across, I then told Chris I was trying to trade to Tom. When the trade came across to Tom, he accepted it without even looking at it. And it wasn't from me. It was from Chris.
Sounds like Tom really doesn't like you there, Randall.
So long story short, the person trading T. Higgins didn't even know that was the trade, and didn't even know anything. He just hit accept on the trade because he's in last place, which I think is grounds for possible dismissal from the league.
Oof. Tom or Chris.
We'll see.
Tom. Yeah, Tom, you need to pay attention a little bit there, buddy.
You need to know that we're scrutinizing those last place trades pretty heavily.
Well,
I'm trying to do one with them, and it was, going to be questionable, but not that questionable.
What's our trade deadline?
Saturday. Should we do one just to be fun?
No.
No.
No. I'm good. I'm just gonna keep.
Funny. You're right above me. You're sitting in 5th, aren't you? Yeah, you're sitting in 5th.
Well, it's tied for third.
Sam, yeah, that is tied for, technically speaking, you are right. That is tied for third.
That's what I was saying. So if James loses and I win, or if Isaac wins, then one of us will move into straight third. So
I'm
otherwise, it'll be a
technically
tied for third between two.
it's funny because I'm sitting in fourth in points for the year, but I'm all the way down at sixth from points against, which is crazy because I was prior to this last 6 weeks, I was the very last in points against. No one was putting points up against me, but now I've shot all the way up the ranks because of this last couple of weeks here, me getting just dog walked by people.
I got a pretty decent. Wait, where are you? Yeah, you got 12-10 points against. People have not brought their best against me. I'm at 11-10 points against. So, we're
Where you
gonna have
want to
to
be
think of
sitting?
something to. We're gonna have to think of something to do when fantasy football's over, especially to start these podcasts out, because I'm not a fantasy baseball guy. I don't have enough time to devote to that.
You know what's
But
really fun?
you said hockey, right?
Fantasy soccer.
Soccer?
And yeah, it's pretty great actually. It sounds bad, but trust me, it's pretty great.
Do you take individual players, or do you take like a midfield and a backfield, or what do you do?
You feel the whole team. You got to feel the whole team, individual
Field,
players.
individual players, whole team?
Yeah. I mean, it's only 11 guys. It's not that huge of a deal. And then backup players.
I mean, we could do that. I would be open to that.
Did you see, speaking of coming up, did you see the MLS just announced they're going to rotate their schedule to mirror European leagues?
I did not. No.
Yeah, they're going to, the MLS. So I'm a diehard Portland Timbers fan, as you can tell here behind me. But the MLS now is going to be running, I believe, from the end of the year through the spring to the end of summer, or to the beginning of summer to like July or something like that, which mirrors like European EPL, Liga and stuff like that. So it makes it easier for them to do international travel and loan players out for international stuff. We always had our league in the prior season would go the beginning of the year to the end of summer, beginning of fall. So it's kind of shifting the whole season. It's going to be really interesting playing, soccer in Minnesota in the winter and soccer in Colorado in the winter outside in outdoors, non-domed stadiums.
It's all outdoor stadiums, huh? For the most part. Or I'm sure there's some teams that play inside, right?
There's a few, but they're in like Texas.
So, and then here's a question for you, being a soccer fan. There's something about, I remember from Ted Lasso, I watched a couple seasons of that, about how it's a little close to home with the the toxic optimism positivity of some PLU stuff for my liking.
I think it's a
You
lot
know
more
what I mean?
genuine, to be frank. You know what I mean?
Ouch! Burn!
Like I feel like when we would hear about the toxic positivity, the toxic label got added to like the second rendition of the Western family teaching it. You know what I mean? The positivity was that was frosty. You know what I mean? But then it got kind of less genuine from then on down.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Is
Humbly.
this is this a good time to talk about the axe to grind that you have with
Hey, I got no axe to grind.
Not an axe to grind, but a story to I don't know if the story's fit for the podcast or not, but well,
Don't matter.
Don't matter? Well,
I played college football with John, and during an off season, what was it, the summer? It was the summer
I don't
of
remember.
our second year playing football.
Oh yeah, it was after our first year, yes.
Yeah, it was the second year. It was after the second year of playing football because I played 2 years at PLU.
And you did the whole freshman deal, breakaway and everything in the first year,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. So
I
you were
sang, I Will Survive, Gloria Gaynor breakaway.
You were in. There were some guys, some late, what they call them, late vets, or not late vets, but like the walk-ons who didn't get to experience breakaway their first year.
Yeah,
For those
they even gave me the nickname the Prodigy on my locker when we did the nicknames back in the freshman year. We did that. I had
Yeah,
that in my
mine
wallet the whole time I was there at PLU. That I took the sticker off and I kept it.
mine was Benjamin Button.
But
I was
I
so
played
happy
football.
with
I also
that
played lacrosse.
nickname.
During the off season, I would, partake, and got caught in the dormitories with a small bag of marijuana. Not a big deal. Caught me, turned me into campus security. First thing I did, first thing in the morning, the next morning, is I went down to old Scott Westring's office and I let him know, hey, this is going to be coming across your desk. I wanted to talk to you before campus security did. Like, think about that now. Like, actually think about that now. I'm not getting no scholarship to play there. Like, why is the first thing I would willingly do is go to my football coach and be like, this is going to come across your desk. I wanted to talk to you, man. Like, what a badass. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
not
you
like,
don't want to
I
hit
was
you.
worried about losing a scholarship or losing my opportunity. Nope. Just wanted to have a talk with him so he wouldn't see it and get disappointed. It was really what it was.
We were both raised the same way too. If you know something's coming, just face it. Don't let them hear about it secondhand.
But similarly, he appreciated it, and he let me know, that's a good thing I came to talk to him, and this to that, man to man. He'll be heading down to campus security himself to get, to talk to them, to talk on my behalf, so that way this doesn't come back through the athletics department and get me in trouble and da 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 da. And nothing ever came from it, by the way. I never was no police were ever called, no punishment from the university, because I was a fucking great student. They wouldn't touch me. They just took my bag. But Scott, someone on campus security, some idiot student, campus security is students, wrote down on my report on what happened that they found 8 ounces on me rather than 8 grams on me. Now, to listeners, 8 ounces is a half of a pound. You can't fit a half a pound of weed in your pocket unless you got those real big pockets.
Unless you got some Jenko jeans.
Yeah, the Jenko jeans. Thank you. Yeah. That might fit a half a pound.
Can
But
stick my
like
Walkman in the
pants,
side and my Nalgene bottle in the side.
It was insanity. And I remember I didn't know any of this happened until I got a message from Scott that he was like, it actually didn't even come from Scott. It came from Judd. Judd told me that I was in
peace, Judd.
He told me that I was in big trouble. And I was like, what? Why? Like the university isn't even mad at me. Like, what do you mean I'm in big trouble? and I went into a meeting at Scott's office and he told me, like, how could I lie to him? He can't believe that I would lie to him. He looked like such an idiot when he went in to defend me on my behalf. And then he found out how much it was. And I tried to plead, like, you don't understand. Like, again, that can't fit in my pocket. Like, you are crazy. You know what I mean? Wouldn't hear it. Wouldn't hear a second of it. He told me that before we talked, he needed me to go in front of the team, the entire team, during one of our like film meetings there at admin, and which is a huge meeting hall, lecture hall.
Riki, right? Or
Riki.
Riki, yeah.
And he had me meet there, and everyone came and sat down before one of our summer meeting program things we were doing. And I had to apologize in front of the entire team. I had to tell everyone that I had a problem. I had to tell everyone that I was like seeking help. I had to tell everyone that I was like looking to help for God and all. I had to lay in. And did I put on a good performance?
Oh yeah. When you did that, I was like, oh, well, this means obviously that like the atonement has happened. That's what I took it as.
Yeah. So then I did all that, which is hilarious because the guy I bought the weed from is one of the wide receivers sitting there in the room. Didn't rat on nothing, honor. My problem. I did that. I came and I sat down. Connor, I don't know if you say names. Connor, came and got me from that meeting and was like, Scott wants to talk with you now. And I was like, okay. So I went and I got pulled out of that meeting and I went and sat in my seat up in Riki with everyone else after I did my spiel. Connor came and got me, took me out. I went down to meet Scott. I don't even know what happened then there on for the rest of the meeting. I was let know in Scott's office with him that I was being let go from the football team for this, and essentially made an example of. And it was all done very publicly. And I had no foreknowledge of anything going on. So I'm going through my emotions, trying to be like, this is all happening on a day. This is a Wednesday. This is Wednesday night. This is I had no knowledge any of this was happening. So I had to like turn in all my stuff. I had to turn in all my book, my playbook, and all the stupid stuff that we did. Because I was on offense, you were on defense. It was a little different, but yeah, I was essentially made an example of to the team, and I think it was done specifically because Scott saw that a lot of players on the team were kind of going through a moral, in his mind, decay, and he
Yeah,
wanted
at
to
the
get ahead of it.
edge mall and red car and everything, and
Yeah,
yeah.
and I never really believed in the email thing to begin with. I kind of would made fun of it, not publicly, but like I'd heckle.
Well, it's the
You always single out the class clown. Teachers, that's what you do. You make an example of the loudest one, and that's what I felt happened at the time. So I was let go from my dream of playing college football, which their loss. I ended up playing 3 years of college or 4 years of college across total. So it was pretty cool.
Yep. And you know what the sad thing about that is, first off, you would have been a really good addition in the years of the program that I was there. And
I played since freshman year. I was on freshmen didn't normally play. They just normally stood there and dressed. I played special teams my freshman year. I was on the kickoff, or excuse me, the PAT and extra point
field
team.
goal.
And then I played I would get in and get actual playing time at right tackle my second year, then I didn't play anymore. So
And
I'd have been a starter the senior year and
for sure.
junior year.
Well, and the shitty part about it is that they made you stand up and say that and then let you go.
Well, that's why they did it.
Well,
They
no,
just
but
wanted to get that out of me first. I wouldn't have done that if they were letting me go.
that's well, so when there's more like scandalous stuff that happens, especially in like sports programs, I feel like if you're going to let someone go, then don't let them, like, you were trying to do the right thing first off when you went and confronted Scott right away. And then if he was going to let you go at that point, it was just you were off the team. Don't make yourself look like a fool in front of the whole rest of the team and kind of bleed your heart out up there in front of us, rather than they let you do that and then they let you go anyways. That's what, yeah, if they already had in their minds it was made up, then why make you do that? That's what I think was
The
really
example
not,
making process
but
for,
that's
for
just
that
it.
theatrics.
That's bullshit, because they already had in their mind made up that I thought that was the
That's what I
atonement for
thought
you to
too
be
when I was
back on
doing
the
it.
team.
So that's exactly what I thought too when I was doing it.
Yeah.
Didn't
So
pan out that way. It was that same meeting too. So like I did my thing, went and sat up in my chair. We went on with meetings for another 10, 20 minutes, and Connor came pulled me out. But yeah, I remember it. I remember the whole thing, because then I remember Connor afterwards walked me from Scott's office afterwards back to the locker room and was like trying to talk to me about, like, calm down, man. It's not a big deal. You're already playing lacrosse, right? Da 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 da. And it's like, yeah, oh yeah, yep.
yeah, and it's like, I think we kind of talked maybe even a little bit about it with Alex on the last episode, is that's the evangelicalness, right, of that program. And there was a lot of, like when we started out the interview with Alex, there was a lot of good things about, there's positives to, right, his evangelical upbringing. There's positives to, obviously, the PLU program. But then for like that extreme, right, like that is like the brimstone part of the salvation, right? So that's, yeah, it kind of sucks. And it especially sucks because just stuff that, not going to name specifics of what kind of events or whatever, but was other stuff that transpired on the team with, people
Oh,
coming back.
far worse
Yeah.
stuff
Well,
that
it's, yeah.
transpired on the team.
Yeah. So, but it's not to say that those guys are, but those guys are human just as much as you are human. And it sucks that, out of any situation that's what was made an example of. So
Looking back, we did have I believe a zero tolerance policy for drugs on the team at some point. I believe we did something like that. That being said, like, I'll have all my excuses, like I do it out of season. I faced it like a man. I did this or that. That being all this said, I wouldn't be who I am today had that moment not happened. Flat out. I would. I currently work in the agricultural industry. I tour both pumpkin fields just as much as I do wine fields, as much as I do cannabis fields. I wouldn't be as knowledgeable as I am today about plant biology and plant physiology as if that moment never happened. And I'm thankful for it too. Whatever happens in life always shapes you. And
for sure.
that's one of the kind of things that I'll take my lumps and I'll roll with it. But you'll never see me being kind of hypocritical when it comes to that. Those, like, oh, they should have accepted me. They should have seen the forgiveness side. Like, Christianity practices forgiveness, I'm told, right? It's pretty famously, pillar of Christianity.
Well, and especially with Lutheran, there's no Catholic atonement and confession either.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the deal with that?
At the end of the day, I see their actions as hypocritical to their stances as coaches, to their stances as developers of young men, which is honestly, I believe, what that coaching staff would at the time. I wouldn't treasure to know now, but
I have no
at the
clue
time,
now. Yeah.
I believe that coaching staff was more seeing themselves as developers of young men rather than football coaches. I think they'd put that label higher than they would have put football coaches.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yes.
And when
Yeah,
you
to write someone
cut
off.
someone from the team, well, that's doing the motions I was doing and was willing to say what I was saying, and like, I don't think that's really. I think that's kind of picking and choosing who you want to develop, and that again starts to look a little more political and hypocritical, frankly.
Yeah, and shout out to the real one though too with Judd. You and I have had conversations off camera about this, and definitely there were some real,
Kind time, man.
real kind time. Rest in peace. Just recently passed away with I I think it was more or less a short battle of a really aggressive cancer.
Answer is what I
Um,
heard. Yeah,
so at least he and I have a heart for Judd too, because Judd was the only reason I ever saw the field. Right, I kind of like you. I saw some special teams actually my first year, my freshman year, got hurt. Uh, broke my wrist and just had a hard time coming back from that because I couldn't do any of the lifts, right? I couldn't do any upper body lifts. So you don't need it's mostly lower body and, kind of back of your body when you're training for football, but still having the upper body strength is key for some positions. And it took me out. And Judd was the reason. Then again, my senior year, I actually did see some of the field, and so I am forever grateful to him for that. So, and for him to approach you saying, "Hey, Randall, this is what's going on," when, yeah, it's when the other smoke and mirrors was going on.
Do you remember? Do you remember
bullshit.
the I forgot what it was called. The game, it was the email game or something like that. The game, it was like the second team versus the defense or something like that they would do every year. And
Oh, yeah.
the second year, both Derek and myself, excuse me if I said someone's name, but the second year, both D-Lar
D-Lar. Yeah, there you go.
and myself both blew out our knees in the same, like, weird game thing we were doing.
In
And
the
then
mud bowl, right?
the Mud Bowl or something. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
over at that Franklin High School or whatever that was. I will always remember getting my already injured knee just devastated by someone, and couldn't walk. My knee blew up like a balloon. It was huge. I had to go get it drained at the doctor's office at the university. Um, Judd drove his car from the parking lot down like this back weird ramp where because like the school bus depot was also at that high school. Drove it like that back weird ramp down where they park the school buses, back down onto the track, and then right up next to the track, so I could walk into his car, hobble into his car, and then he drove me back to the university that night because my knee was already gigantic, and they were like fearful that it was all torn up. It wasn't, thankfully. It was just as messed up as it was already. But I was always like, man, Judd, you didn't have to go out of your way. That's super cool. But yeah, super
Yeah,
torn up to hear about him. Of
I
all
know.
the coaches there,
Yeah.
rest of them are not so much. Not
Yeah,
so much.
I had obviously a little bit of a tumultuous relationship with, I'd say, the D coordinator. But yeah, I didn't have, playing defense, I didn't have much dealings with Scott other than obviously like our meetings and the like whole team aspect of football. And I I'm obviously thankful for a lot of my time with Scott, and I'm thankful for a lot of the lessons instilled. And there's still some phrases that I use today, like me and my buddy always say the phrase "Don't take license," and um, uh, a big one that I use more often than I'm probably uh care to admit is the talking about future dealings with your spouse and saying, "I'm sorry, honey," and just kind of that whole, being able to put your pride aside, but then at the same time there's the pride that he had for the program that kind of I yeah, so not all bad, not all good on my opinion of it either. I kind of have a similar story with the not I have a fall on my sword story. I don't know if I'm ready to share that yet in the podcast. The Derek Lincoln Fulmer that one night, uh, the one night at stadium where I got hauled away. But um, I do have like a PLU story of like the no tolerance aspect of things, right? That I felt was pretty shitty. And you're talking about how it like alters the course of your life. Like, and I am thankful now for it, especially seeing what a buddy of mine is going through with his career right now. But there was a real big fork in the road for me at PLU. My J term, my J term of my senior year. I was taking, well, let me back up. It was the fall semester before J term. And for those of you who are listening, J term is
All
PLU's
of January. Basically,
all
it's
of
a month of January.
all of January, where you have one class for 3-4 hours, 4 or 5 days a week. So it's a whole course's worth of information. You can take one or two, maybe.
I took 3 at one point. I took 3 classes at one point in
That's
one
just
January.
that's biting off too much, man. I think I did two one time, but it was a bit much. But I was in my capstone, and also want to back up too real quick and say it's funny you're talking about your career in agriculture and um your gravitation towards horticulture and stuff is funny because I studied that in college, and
I'm a history major.
I have like it's pulling teeth to get me out into my garden sometimes. Like that's not my natural inclination. I like doing it because my wife likes doing it, and I'm getting more into it now. But I kind of then have gravitated towards like the history and the politics stuff, which you studied obviously, and you're still interested in that too. But so, anyways, my capstone, my fall semester of my senior year, I had a yoga class at the East Campus gym. And the East Campus gym, also for those of you who don't know the Pacific Lutheran campus, the East Campus gym is right off of Pacific Highway in Parkland.
It's a
And
satellite. It's a small satellite campus. It's very close to the school, but
close,
I think it was built in like the 40s.
it looks like an old armory building, to be
That's
honest.
what it was, an old military building, but I
Yeah.
believe it was built in the 40s because it
Yeah.
used to that land and a lot of Pacific Lutheran land used to be
Fort
a part of
Lewis.
the JBLM Air Force Base.
Yeah. I believe for the National Guard or the state component of it.
Yeah, because all
Yeah.
the housing of Parkland back in the day used to be Air Force housing and stuff like that for families.
So
History.
Yeah, there you go. It's funny. We took a drive through there recently too with my nephews and our two kids, just kind of going around and showing them the PLU campus because it's very likely a place that they'll end up going to school. So my daughter has said she wants to go to PLU, so that's great. Uh, I don't know how I'm going to pay for that at this point, but
Hey
she's
man,
got to be smart.
you get a discount. You get a discount for signing kids up when you're an alumni.
Yeah, and then we've also toyed around with the idea too. My wife makes a little bit too much money for this, but for her or I or just whoever, it would be her. But yeah, like I said, she makes too much money for one of us to get a job on campus, and then you get the tuition discount.
I knew quite a few people who were there purely because their parents were faculty members, from math teachers to like maintenance people.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you get. I don't know if it's 100% now. I think it might be capped at 75 or 50% now, but that's still like if you're making comparable money, and even if you make a little bit less, that's like a huge savings for your kids.
It's one of those things where you find a way to pay for education. You have to do that here in the United States because how frankly expensive education is. And when you're like your other options are going, because Pacific Lutheran University, for people who don't know, again is a private school. So we aren't getting the same state benefits as if we would have gone to schools like Washington State, for example. Um, it's much more expensive. So when you look at, like, I have a friend of mine, Adam, and his you might know Adam and Arina without saying last names.
Did he live behind you, the
Yep.
slacklining guys? Yeah, yeah, Adam. Yeah, I remember.
The whole reason him and his sister and two or three other members of their family, all five of them went to PLU because their dad was a math teacher there. And that's, I mean, if putting five kids
It's
through
awesome.
private college and turning out five successful education, to the kids, hats off to that guy for that idea.
Yeah,
That's a brilliant
for
idea.
sure. So anyways, back to this East Campus gym where I'm taking my yoga class that butts up with my capstone. My story of the no tolerance, right? Not for substances, but it's still a no tolerance policy as far as the syllabus goes. It That campus building is really close to the main drag there in Parkland. And it's a fine neighborhood sometimes if you look at it, and sometimes it can be a little bit more rough. Um, and with its proximity there to the main drag, um, it was right next to the bus transit center, so there would be incidents that would happen there quite often, and I was a victim of that. I actually got the tires stolen off of my bike at East Campus Gym after my yoga class. And I got this bike specifically for this reason. I got this bike because I would have to go from East Campus Gym all the way down to the Science Center. And that was my class schedule. It was yoga to capstone. That far apart. It's why I got that bike. And the teacher had a no tolerance policy for attendance. And it was, I had missed one class because I had a prior engagement doing something. And if you miss a second class, you had to retake the capstone class. And so I am sitting there. I don't know what to do. Like, my tires are gone off of my bike. They're gone. So I put the thing through my arms. I put the frame through my arms and I run. I was in good shape back then. And I fucking sprinted down to the Science Center. And I don't know. It's at least a couple miles, right?
It's like 2 miles, yeah. And it's, thankfully for you, it's downhill.
Downhill, not going the other way. And so I am sprinting with this bike, and I get to the Science Center. I get to my class, and I get to the class, and the door's shut. I knock on the door, open it real quick. I'm like, "You're late." I go, "Yeah, have my bike still on my arm with no wheels." I go, "My wheels got stolen off my bike. That's why I'm late." Sorry. I go, "What?" Sorry, you've already missed one class, so you got to retake this. Now, which meant that I had to take it again during J term. So I failed my capstone my fall semester. So I had to retake that class in J term. Now, what I had scheduled for J-term already was a practice MCAT class in J-term that I had to then not do because I had to take capstone again. And I could have done them both, but I didn't want to. I was like, I was having a hard time with the capstone class as it was. Right? I probably wouldn't have made that good of a doctor anyways because I wasn't as smart as a lot of those people. So, and that's kind of like that fork in the road, right? How a lot of stuff in my life changed then, and I'm on this course now after that. And I'm grateful, I would be honest, for a lot of it because I have a friend, Corey, who is going through the process of becoming a physician and who is a forever student and who is saddled with crippling amounts of debt. And there's a chance that now we could be potentially making the same amount of money with me doing the longshore thing when I get registered eventually. You can make good money doing that. And I didn't have to go through the saddling, getting saddled with the crippling debt. And, everything works out for a reason. And I'm very proud of my life now. And I'm proud of everything that we have. But it's funny because I also was a bit of a victim of that zero tolerance. It was really a fork in the road that changed my life.
I absolutely love, and I'm not laughing at you. Absolutely love how you go. Parkland is a good town. It's pretty safe. Both my bike wheels were stolen.
And I had a full bike stolen. I had a full bike stolen at the stadium house. And
My
then
car was broken into probably 5 times. I stopped locking it. I just left it unlocked and no shit in it. And then I walked out and my roommate's car, Cam's truck was being broken into. And I remember that one happened because I walked out in my like shorts and my trash can because I was like emptying my trash from my room into our like front trash can into our house. And this guy's like rifling through Cam's truck and I thought it was Cam and I go, "Hi Cam." And the guy turns and looks at me and goes, "Oh." And I'm like, "Oh." And we both just kind of looked at each other and then he ran and I ran after him. But yeah, and then our house was broken into and stuff. But yeah, dude, Parkland's rough, man. For the people that would like to know, whenever you see a clip from Cops and it's from the state of Washington, it's from Lakewood or it's from Parkland.
or
And
from
and
a little
those
bit
2
further
cities,
south in Pierce County, but yeah.
those 2 cities touch each other. So that area is pretty rough.
Cops actually, I believe that Pierce County is the majority of cops footage. It's like,
That's yeah, all footage from the state of Washington comes from there.
but I'm talking
I'm
even.
pretty sure it was started in Washington.
I think you may be right. And what's crazy too about the Pierce County area is it is the least, so for its area, Pierce County Sheriff Department, it is the least patrolled area in the entire state. I know that for sure, but it may be like nationally ranked for least patrolled is
I
Pierce
know
County.
that Pierce County Sheriff's Department also offers the largest hiring bonus of anywhere in the United States or anywhere in the state. But that just, might be because of how dangerous it is, I'd imagine, on the job.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely dangerous, and it's kind of funny because it's a weird coalescing of community and politics, and because it has influence from liberal parts of Tacoma. But if you know anything about Tacoma, Tacoma is older money than Seattle, even for a lot of families. It was the first city compared to Tacoma and Seattle.
Yeah, back the little history side note for it. Back in the day, Tacoma predated Seattle for its grandeur. It was established Stadium High School, for example. There was a large hotel that was made in the city of Tacoma, and the entire battle at the time was to see where the end terminus for the
The
railroad would
northern the
would be.
Northern Pacific. Yep.
And
Yep.
it passed the city of Tacoma, and they actually didn't get a junction in Tacoma until after the Seattle terminus opened. So Seattle had a train stop before Tacoma did, and Tacoma didn't grow as fast as Seattle because of that. So Seattle became the larger city.
Do you know what the terminus is of the Great Northern Railroad? Do you know that? Do do
Fairbanks,
do
Great
do do
Northern
do.
Railroad.
Great Northern Railroad is Great Northern Railroad. Its terminus is in Washington, further north in
Oh,
Seattle. Do you know? It was Everett. Great
yeah,
Northern
I did.
Railroad.
I do actually remember that. Yeah.
The Great Northern Railroad terminus was in Everett, and it's funny because we actually got married at the Monte Cristo Ballroom, which was part of the terminus there for the Great Northern. And it's kind of funny too. I have a bit of a connection to that. I don't want to tangent off too much here, but it's my grandpa who he's the one person who is the blip in the family tree. We kind of don't know what happened to him. He would buy up land for the Great Northern Railroad to come through into Washington. He was paid, and then he was then not paid in cash. He was paid in land as the Northern
Mm,
Railroad would come through.
mwah.
And the
Gotta
great,
love those deals 100 years later.
I know, right? Well, it didn't work out too well because the Great Depression happened and he lost his
Son of a
ass and
bitch.
everything. Well, Great Depression happened. He lost his ass and everything, and that's where the money. Well, at least for me, it stopped. It stopped. It stopped a long time ago, but that's one of the places it stopped.
The well
So he
dried
ran
up.
off. Yeah, he ran off, and no one knows really what happened to him. So we think he committed suicide. So
I was just hunting this last week. A friend of mine, I got a text last week on Thursday, like in the 7 a.m. or something like that. And a good friend of mine texted me, and he's been hunting all year to try to get his deer. I got mine a couple of weeks ago. But he got it, and so he texted me, "Buck down, in the canyon. I need some help." And so I dropped everything that morning, and I rushed over to the area, and I helped him get this deer out. And he was telling me that the land he's hunting on, it's in the area I live down in Vancouver, Washington. It's all privatized. Everything out there is owned, and so there's no forest land in my area that you can like really get out to. It's GMU land or BLM land or anything like that. But the land he's hunting on is like 200 acres of just the most beautiful view of the Columbia River Valley that
nice.
you're gonna see.
Is he hunting
And
off of a boat, or is he
no, he's on a Christmas tree farm,
okay?
and it's private. And I was like, how did the Farrell family, which is a connection to him, he has ability to hunt there, he's the permission. But I was like, how did they come to own this place? How do you get 200 acres in highly privatized, highly sought after land? And he told me, he was like, well, in 1907, his great grandfather or his grandfather or something bought this land for $7,000, and now it's 100 or 200 acres of just the most sought after area, and I wouldn't even want to venture to guess how much it's worth, but it's like 7 grand. And like, don't get me wrong, 7 grand back in 1907 was
Yeah, a
is
lot of money.
it's probably like 50, 60, 70 grand today.
Well, they made $1 an hour back then or less, So yeah,
Yeah, you're paid in nickels.
yeah. The now defunct pennies, even.
How crazy is that? They got rid of the penny the other day. They stopped minting those. Curious to see how that's going to affect things.
Yeah. Jason Ranson, the conservative talking head I follow here in Seattle's. Well, he was bringing up some good points about that. It's like, are they just then for tax purposes and stuff? Everything is rounded up to the next 0.5, and it's not a lot of money, on a small scale, but on a big scale, all that shit adds up for sure,
It's the entire
so
premise of Office Space.
yeah.
You steal fractions of a penny before you know it. It's a shit ton of money. And it's like when you think about it too, it's like I went into a bank locally here just because we have a jar that says college fund on it, cheeky. But we used to use it just or we still use it just to put our empty change in at the end of the day. It gets overfilled with change. So I started pouring it into bags, and before you know it, I got like multiple gallon bags of just change. And so I took it to my bank and I was like, do something with this. And they looked at me and they're like, oh, we can't take it. And I was like, you can't take like legal tender. Like, what are you saying? You won't take my coins? And they're like, oh, no, we can't process them like that. You have to hand roll them into like hand rolls before you
Hmm.
can bring it in like this. And I was like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah, you can
That's a
take it to a
typical,
coin star, but they'll
yeah,
they'll charge you 10%. And it's like,
that's pretty
don't you
typical
have
for
that
banks. They don't
machine in the
take
back
that.
because you're a bank?
No, it's the same. It's the same thing with the taxes. Did you see they got rid of the IRS e-file for free?
Yeah,
It's this
I
it's
did
the
see that.
same shit, right? Like like they purposely don't have that, and Coinstar probably lobbies for banks to not be able to do that because they profit off of that. It's the same shit with the taxes. TurboTax, once that came out, probably lost their ass. So they're lobbying against the IRS free e-file, which is just fucking insane if you ask me, especially if you're conservative. If that's not one of the things that, if you like are like America First, libertarian, conservative, I wish school would have taught me how to do taxes, and that doesn't piss you the fuck off, I don't know I don't know what
If
to
only
tell you.
school prepared us with actual life lessons, like how to calculate a loan, or what interest is. Um,
You know
those
what,
have been
Randall?
so helpful. School.
You you know what, Randall? So in my stint as a teacher, I was a teacher for close to 10 years. It was like 7.5 or 8 years if you count the subbing. But I just say the better part of a decade because I fucking earned that shit. Is or I earned my tenure and I forked out my time and energy, I'll tell you that, with what I did. But I made it my mission with my kids to kind of to have it be that they couldn't say that. So, because I taught the digitals class, I was a career and technical ed teacher teaching the computer science, digital communications class. And I made it my mission in our downtime to do some of the stuff you're talking about, like the calculating how to budget, calculating how you can potentially afford a home. We went to the IRS site a couple times and looked at how to e-file and stuff, and just some life skills that where I taught, they did have a freshman crash course in some finances and stuff. And, but like, I made it my mission to have it. Those kids couldn't say they never learned it. And if they said that, they weren't listening in my class. That's what I made it my
We
mission to do.
When I originally went to Pacific Lutheran University, I did a year of community college before. Uh,
Oh, I didn't know that. What year did you
yep,
graduate high school? Oh, wait,
2009.
wait. Oh, hold on. When what was your first year at PLU on the football team?
2011. No, 2000.
10 then. Oh, okay. That's right. I was like, because when you're telling your story and you were saying second year, that it didn't add up for me, and that's why.
Yeah. But
Oh,
so
okay, that's right.
I had to take a math class because I tested before you do college level education, you do a bunch of tests to see like what you kind of qualify for, right? And I had to do a math class because I was like sub 100 level math. I dude, I am so bad with numbers. It's comical.
Sorry. I'm
I'm
sorry, dude. Are
so
you serious?
I had to take algebra 2 when I was in high school. I had to take it twice.
You dum dum.
Yeah, I bro, if you ever need to know when William the Conqueror invaded England, I am your man. But if you need me to like calculate stuff, no, no,
You're not
bad choice.
not the bean counter, huh?
No, not at all.
You leave
I'm the
that.
more historian. I'm the story guy. I'm the lecture
You
guy. You know what I mean?
you
I
were
don't do
saying
the stats very well.
you were
But
saying you leave the
so long story
finances up to
short,
your
I had to
wife,
take a
right? She's got the
class,
bank
and it was like
accounts.
math. It was like math 96 or something like that, right? And it was called yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
It's not. It's not
Yeah,
even.
dude.
It's not even a
Now,
hundred.
keep in mind while I'm taking this, I'm also taking 400 level like English history classes. Okay,
Okay.
motherfucker.
Oh,
But so I
sorry.
took this class. It was called Math in the Real World. Was what it was called. And I still look back. I have the textbook for that class. I still look back at that class as the most beneficial math class I have ever taken in my life. And like, don't get me wrong, you bust out when you're doing measurements and stuff. You bust out some a squared plus b squared equals c squared every now and then. You use things that you wouldn't think in everyday life you would use, but I use that math in real life class all the day, every day. Like I said, it's how credit cards work. Like you don't learn,
Yeah.
and if you don't have a parent or someone in your a financially stable individual who's willing to teach you this information, where else do you learn besides YouTube yourself? Like I stand by that type of class should be high school. It should be fundamental for every single person One of the funniest things about that class, not only was it 96 level, but the teacher at the time, the professor of this class, had no idea how to do any of the stuff. So she was learning with us the entire
Learn,
time.
learning the Math 96 curriculum.
The blind were leading the blind that day,
Yeah.
that semester.
Well, okay. I I don't want to say too many things to get people riled up about teacher qualifications, but my entrance into teaching was a little interesting, uh, qualifications wise. So I kind of sympathize with that lady a little bit because my first assignment, I was when I got into teaching, I thought I was going to be a science teacher, and oh, I'm so glad that that didn't happen. You couldn't pay me enough to be a
Dodged a
science
bullet.
teacher, man. Oh, fuck, dodged a bullet big time. The amount of prep work and the labs and the lab notebook, the take home grading every night I had, I
Parents, dealing with parents, dealing with
there's
the
only,
school bureaucracy.
yep.
Mhm.
Now, where I was, the PE teacher's job was tough because we were in a tough, challenging school and we only had one gym, and the logistics of having one gym in any school is a nightmare, right? So my wife also, I worked with my wife. She was she's an actual teacher. I'm just like was a wannabe teacher. She's an actual teacher. That's her thing. And I've since obviously transitioned on from teaching. Having one gym, they would have to. She coached gymnastics 1 or 2 years. They would have to set up the whole gymnastics setup every day with the kids. You know how much time that adds up to, lost practice time? And so where I'm getting with that is I had a decent job compared to being a science teacher. And I would say in normal school, the PE teacher is the smartest teacher at the school, right? Because you get paid the same amount to do the PE stuff. And my sister might be cursing at me through the podcast right now. She's a PE teacher too, whatever. Anyways, so but yeah, dodged a bullet with that. So teacher qualification stuff. I was going to be a science teacher, but then they said, "Hey, we have this position that's opened up." I was in my training. We have this position opened up for the computer lab. Do you want to be this teacher? I was like, I'm doing the science teacher stuff, not really. I okay. So they kind of left it for a little bit, and then I was thought about it for a little while as I'm then having to sub in this classroom. I'm like, you know what? I could probably do this, right? So they use they use your industry experience. I was sales before being a teacher, so they used my industry experience in sales to cert me to be a career and technical education teacher, and for business and admin. But there was crossover for the digitals class in middle school that you could teach the computer class from your business and marketing certificate. So and I feel that Math 96 teacher's pain, man. So like I taught myself how to do everything in that class, from Photoshop to coding to video game design to robotics. And I, once again, you talk about forks in the road and things that happen. I'm forever grateful for that, because doing this, the podcasting stuff and the social media, like the development and design aspect of it, it's been pretty cool. But it was a steep learning curve, I'll tell you, with
I
especially
had
the
a lot of
coding.
that. I had a lot of that stuff, the digital aspect, offered to me when I was in high school. I took a class in high school that was how to write HTML. I took a class in the same class, and teacher in high school offered another one that I took that was all about Photoshop design. And I, even at the time when I was in high school, got so into it that I interned in San Francisco before graduating. It was like or it was the summer of my junior year, going into my senior year. So it was junior year into senior year. That summer, I interned at a advertising company in San Francisco, working on digital media,
Nice.
and that summer was the most like eye-opening experience at the time, where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I even took those kind of classes in high school, which was, again, super cool that my high school had that kind of stuff.
I was not on that trajectory in high school. I was on like the AP honors, like I took shop. Oh, and I did the whole series of shop at my school. Where I went to high school, they have a magnet for auto shop. In that area, there's a huge density of auto dealerships. So they have and also the magnets that kind of surround Boeing and some of the surrounding Pierce County businesses. Um, Big magnet for auto, and I took the whole auto series there, and that saved me some money in my adult life too. But I
Yeah,
didn't
hey,
take I didn't take the computer side of it though. It was
life
on another
skills,
side of it.
man. It's something to be said. Like I feel like when you go to high school and education in this country back in like the 70s, um, a lot more unique things were on offer. Like I know this is astronomically crazy to think of now, but do you remember when high schools, or have you ever seen how high schools? I would say do you remember because I think it outages us.
Yeah,
But
it's
did
before
you know
our
high
time.
schools used to have shooting clubs?
Yeah, and part of the 4-H and the
Yeah,
FFA
you
and
could
all
bring your
that.
gun to school and you can leave it, check it in with you at the counter,
Well,
leave it with your teacher, bring it in your truck.
so my dad used to be a member at one of the local gun clubs around here, and one of the high school where the gun club's at down the hill, it had a school trap shooting team. So, and that was in 96, 97. But it also, there was absolutely nothing was on campus, but still like that influence of like that was still there even in like more densely populated Pierce County, even in the 90s.
It's going to be interesting to see as we see the change in the Trump administration with the educational department team that he brought in, and previously the DeVos family on his last administration, the lasting effects that I would argue negatively are gonna happen from these two administrations.
It's awful, Randall. And the thing too is that they're cutting their goal is also to cut some Pell Grant funding, which is what at one point in time I remember my principal saying he didn't say it to me, he said it to my wife because we both worked at the same school and he said it from like to because I was kind of going through some job insecurity stuff around that time and she was like, is this going to be a stable career? You know, he's kind of doing career and technical ed. And in his words at that time was that career and technical ed is one of the safest because it is funded not by local legislature, but it's funded by the feds. And now, which is also mind blowing because if you're a conservative, you want those classes in schools. You want the real life classes and applications for that. And they were clamping down on it even before so a couple things going here. So for a school to be able to offer a career and technical ed class, there has to be a market for those skills in the real world. So that's how the area got away with its auto shop magnet because there was a need for it, right?
Mhm.
But there are some places the reason that they have cut stuff like wood shop from a lot of these classes is not because we're getting soft just in general. It's because of stuff like that is determined by the local labor market and it is driven at a higher level than just the local legislature is. So we were seeing a lot of that, some programs starting to be cut or transitioned, right? Like where you may have had a wood shop say in King County, you now have like a aerospace design and manufacturing, right? So it's like the whole I wish school would have taught me how to do taxes, and these kids are getting soft. They don't have wood shop anymore. It's like, but they are getting taught these other skills. But it's sad because those Pell Grants that are funding these career and technical ed programs is one of the first things that they are trying to cut because it's one of the biggest sinks for the federal education dollars going directly into our children's education. And because most of the time the other programs, your main core curriculum programs like English and math and your reading, writing, and arithmetic, that is all paid for by local legislatures. It's not paid for by the feds. So
Yeah,
what's
I know
interesting
that
to see,
well, I was just I know that my local high school here that I was lucky enough to attend has a robotics program, and they compete internationally, even with other robotics teams from across the world.
Yeah, it's really
But
cool.
a lot of it comes down to affluence. You know, you're not going to have a robotics program in a low income school. You're not going to have the same opportunities or chances for advancement in these arguably more and more and more desired fields of
Your
education.
mechatronics and stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
look at what Donald Trump says in his most recent interview with Fox News he did yesterday. I probably shouldn't say most recent 'cause he's probably done some today, but in one he did yesterday, he was talking with Laura Ingraham and he was saying how there's a need for H-1B visas in the United States because we don't have the people with the right intelligence to operate these programs. And it's like, well, don't first off, shouldn't the need to be to teach people in the United States, you know, how to do
Aren't
it?
you?
And secondly, like you're also calling your populace dumb and you're saying that your populace can't do something, you know what I mean? And it's and I go back to like the you know the synopsis of like a JFK quote kind of mindset where it's like I like ask not what your country can do for you but what you can do for your country kind of thing where it's like shouldn't there be a need or a developmental idea of trying to have young Americans learn coding and you learn computer uses you know rather than seeking to hire people internationally.
Yeah.
And then when you gut the Department of Education, you're not only exacerbating that problem we have right now when it comes to hiring people, you know, "Oh, we don't have the intelligent people in this country right now." Well, you're not gonna have them 15 years from now either because you're gutting the Department of Education. You're completely devaluing the idea of STEM programs in, it's like 90% of high schools across the country.
So I think we need to back up a little bit for the listeners, Randall, here, to because to understand what you're saying, you have to understand the full magnitude of how education is funded, right? And what Randall's talking about with affluent schools and neighborhoods is that if they get federal dollars cut from their programs, they are going to they are going to vote in the levies required to have those programs. They're going to have successful campaigns. There will be some opposition to it, but they will have successful campaigns to locally fund the federal shortfall. Where
Or even have the ability to do that. You
yeah,
know, they might not do it, but all of the affluent ones have the ability to.
where the less affluent areas, if the federal dollars are cut, because what I'm telling you, the Pell Grant funding funds the children's education in the cool stuff. That's all. If it's not reading, writing, arithmetic, it's normally funded by federal programs, federal dollars. If they cut that part of the pie, school is not going to be fun for these kids. And you complain, if you're someone complaining about what schools are churning out as far as quality individuals and well-rounded individuals and individuals ready for the workforce, what they're trying to do is not going to help. It is going to absolutely hurt the ones who need it the most, right? And you talk about bootstraps, and you're taking away the bootstraps, you're taking away that ability for them to get some life skills. If you think that the school model is outdated and we don't need to be learning trigonometry and we don't need to be doing this, that's all that's going to be left for these kids is the traditional math and English and science. And you could make the argument that they need to just squeeze it in. But you're talking about that is also required and necessary. Like it is there, you need to learn math, you need to learn reading, you need to learn history, right? And you don't need to add the shortfall of cutting career and technical ed and the fun classes that can't just it's the money is you can't just expect the other teachers to teach it, and you can't just expect the money to come from nowhere.
You know what's interesting to think about too though is the same people that are responsible for voting in this administration are also the same people that are so worried about the moral decay of our schools. And I'm not saying that in a uh monetary sense when it comes to funding for programs, but like, same people that are trying to ban books, same people that don't want you to read certain things, same people that are trying to say, uh this book shouldn't be read nationwide because we don't want that mindset passed on to the next generations, and are famous for censoring more than they're famous for exposing kids to. When it comes to learning basic, English, teachers got to have you read something. Want to teach you English, that a lot of control. I think a lot of the outrage for the right started around school programs and school board meetings and stuff like that, with the outraged right, in my mind. And it's funny because it's like, I i- in my mind, I don't want to say they're doing these things on purpose for the outcome of having, kids go without when it comes to programs, or when it comes to censoring what they get exposed to, like they're doing it to be evil. But I think it just comes down to greed. I think that a lot of people want to cut Department of Education's funding, so then they look for ways they can cut it, and they're like, "Oh, we'll get rid of STEM programs from a lot of schools," and they don't really care about the end effect that it has. And the end effect that it has is the thing that you and I get trapped up on the most, because we see the cause effect that'll come from it. But I feel like the average voter that was so outraged in the past 4, 8 years at those social, or at those school meetings, would agree with us right now when it comes to the end result and the decay of the fabric of a lot of education.
With the end result, yes, but they don't understand how either willful ignorance, greed, or they don't understand the bigger picture of what it's actually going to mean in the end. And they've been
It's
lied
the
to,
it's
right?
the
Like,
the dog catcher that finally, or the dog that finally caught the car, essentially. They were so vocal in their outrage when it came to the past several years for all these different things. Now they have the control over the programs, and arguably making it far worse. You know what I mean?
yeah. And and then it gets into the whole school choice debate and debacle, and it, it's, it, I am not a fan of school choice at all.
School choice being homeschooling.
No, school choice being essentially your tax dollars going to a private school or a charter school. So, yeah, so essentially, if you're someone who wants to send your kid to a private school, then it's why do you pay for the public school, right? So that's what school choice is. Essentially, you get a refund or a voucher, then go pay your private school.
Yeah, that's absolutely fucking wild to me that exists. I've never heard of that before. That is
Yeah, it's
absolutely. It's a
happening all
need of a
over.
civil discourse. Oh man, that I'm frustrated just hearing that exists.
You didn't know that exists, school
No.
choice? That's a thing. It's a hot button issue all over the country right now, and Texas just passed that you can do school choice. So
Well,
it's
if you
taking
don't own a car in the United States, do you still have to pay for roads? Just asking for a friend.
and it's once again the haves get more haves and the have-nots have less
Makes it
have-nots.
harder. Yeah, it makes it much harder for the have-nots.
And I heard some arguments, because I worked in an impoverished area of King County as a teacher, and some of the arguments that parents would potentially make at school board meetings and stuff is it gives my kid a chance to get away from the school as it is, right? And but that's not it. It it solves the problem for your potentially one kid, but the greater societal impact is that's the whole thing. It's it's where I understand how you want better for your one kid. I understand and I get that. We all want to do that. But it can't it it's not at the cost of then taking money away from the rest of the children, the rest of the public,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And it's that mindset of it's like the whole evangelical megachurch mindset, right? It's like the phrase was like, you live in the world, you're not of the world. Have you heard that phrase before in church? You live in the world, you're not of the world. And I get that, but you also then benefit from of the world. Like, you want to live in the world, not of the world, but then you're also getting benefits from society. Like, we
No,
don't
nobody
live in a
lives in a
bubble.
bubble. We're all
Yeah.
members of a community.
And that and that's where I will critique someone, say, like Brandy Cruz. You know who Brandy Cruz is? She used to be a Q13 Fox commentator here locally in Seattle. So she went through a switch. She was a conservative for a long time, being on Q13, and then she switched to a never Trumper. And then now she's back and supporting Trump. And I think what she found was that there was no money in the never Trumper. There was no money in it for her. And I think that she's back now on the side because she's seeing that there's some shekels to be had from essentially from fucking blowing the president.
I think you
And
can make quite a bit of money these days being a never Trumper. I think what it really comes down to is vainness. I think it really it's there's no attention in being a never Trumper.
yes,
Personally.
yes. Where I'm kind of going with that though is like the I feel like knowing. I was talking with a buddy at work about this. Is that knowing what I know now? I feel like if you can make fun of me for using the term woke, right? But like knowing what I know now, if I was to go back to how what I was raised in of fiscal conservatism and like that style of thinking, like capitalist libertarian to the most extreme is how I used to be. If I were to go back to viewing like that, and if I were to like be a supporter of school choice, I would be traitorous to the human race, is how I would say myself. I would be like Cypher from the Matrix. Do you remember that scene? Or Judas? Like, that would be me. Like, I fully am aware of the implications of that. If I were to go back to that, I would be a traitor to my fellow humans, in my opinion.
I love the Matrix reference. That's good.
Yeah, it's Cypher. It's like, so if you aren't spoiler alert, the movie's been out since
Spoiler
1999.
alert. Oh yeah.
So Cypher is
Matrix 1 spoiler alert coming.
the character where you take the blue or red pill. So Morpheus targets the people who are ready to be woken up and exposed to the reality that they're in the matrix of the machines. Cypher's character gets woken up, right? But then the real world that they live in is missing all of the niceties that he had in the Matrix, right? Because your
Steak.
brain can't tell the difference, right, between the real steak and the fake steak and the wine. It's all electrical signals in your brain, right? So he's in this. They're fighting for, interestingly enough, the city is Zion. Interestingly enough,
King
but
Nebuchadnezzar too was the name of their ship that
the
destroyed it.
ship Nebuchadnezzar, yeah.
Yeah, well, King Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the first temple of Israel. So there's a lot of little references in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Neo is Jesus essentially. So, and Neo is Jesus, and Morpheus is John the Baptist, right? So, there's a whole bunch of references in there. Anyways,
A
so
bunch.
Cypher's character gets awakened and misses the luxuries of the Matrix, right? And so makes a deal with the architect of the Matrix, or the Agent Smith, and the architect. You don't see the architect in the first movie, but makes a deal with Agent Smith, not Agent Smith, yeah, Agent Smith, to
Hugo
essentially
Weaving.
be to uh uh what's his character in Lord of the Rings? Goddamn, what's his character?
Elrond.
Lord Elrond makes a deal with Lord Elrond, Agent Smith in the Matrix, to sell out the team. You know, the real humans who've been woken up, right? So that's how I feel for me now, knowing what I know, is from like the greater impact of your finances, and you look at, rent seeking behavior, and you look at the greater good that's harmed from a lot of the stuff, right? Like, if I was to go back to that mindset, I would be no better than Cypher or Judas, in my opinion. So
Yeah, there's there's a lot of things happening right now across the United States that their implications aren't really going to be felt until well after, the Trump administration has come and gone. And there's going to be a lot of lasting effects. For example, like education's for one, obviously, because that, it's how people are raised, and it's what you come to know. It's how our next generation is going to take care of us, for example. But he's very likely to get another Supreme Court seat during this current administration. Those don't come up very often. Those don't come up for reappointal very often. And I think personally, I'll have to look here in a second, but I think personally the argument needs to be made to expand that court moving forward during the next chance we have. I don't think that should be done during a Trump administration, and I know I probably sound one-sided when I say that, but I don't think it would be done particularly responsibly or fairly. What do you feel about expanding the Supreme Court?
When you look at a legislature that is bought and paid for on both sides, our commander-in-chief is grifting his way to his own personal wealth, and I think it's laughable that people want to say prior presidents, they only held the presidency to increase their wealth, their own personal wealth. And while that may have been true, you can't tell me that this current administration is doing exactly the same and is doing it under the guise of is not taking the salary of the president.
That fucking matters.
It's fucking disgusting to try and compare the wealth accumulation of prior presidents, and I'll even say Bush, right? Oh, someone who was responsible for thousands of unnecessary deaths, right? I'll even say like his wealth accumulation is not even going to be a piss in the wind compared to Trump's when he's done. And so with expanding the Supreme Court, I feel kind of it almost as like a last stand against any interest for us as citizens, to be honest. And I think that now some people are even waking up, right? Like to the fact that even if you voted for Trump and you're seeing what's happening with what he's doing, and the corruption is now just blatantly out in the open, right? Where at least some other presidents had the decorum to be smart about it. The corruption is just out in the open. And so I think even some of those people that voted for Trump would not want Trump to expand the Supreme Court now. I think if you were to poll Trump voters, and if you wanted to say, would you allow Trump to pack the court even more, I think a lot of them would say no. So my answer to do I support expanding and packing the Supreme Court if the Democrats happen to get in? I do. I have it with some asterisks of I think the Democrat Party is in dire need of an overhaul, right? And we're running out of time here. We had a lot of stuff scheduled to talk about today with current events, but we just kind of rolled with what we were talking about because I think it's important for our listeners to get a little bit of a backstory on us. But yeah, I support it, but I will say with the asterisk of I think the Democrat Party needs an overhaul as well.
Ketanji Brown Jackson was promoted by Joe Biden. Donald Trump had 3 with Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Barack Obama, in his 8 years as president, only had 2, Sonia Sotomayor and Elita Kagan. George Bush had 2, John Roberts and Samuel Alito, who are still serving. Bill Clinton had 2, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Stephen Breyer, both retired. George H.W. Bush was who promoted Clarence Thomas, who's still in office, who needs to retire, who should have taken John Oliver's deal for a fancy RV to retire.
I remember that.
But going back before that, Ronald Reagan had 4, Nixon had 4. Lyndon Baines Johnson had 4. Even Kennedy had 4 or had 2. Kennedy wasn't even alive that long. He was only in office for 2 years, and he got two nominations. And then Justice Dwight Eisenhower had 5. Truman had 5. FDR had a ton, but he also was in the presidency for a long time. My point of this that I'm trying to bring up, though, is that of all this, the point I'm trying to make, though, is that if you would have term limits, most of these people wouldn't. The only one it would trip up with my 25-year term limit would be Clarence Thomas. So it wouldn't even be affecting like all of them. I'm not asking for an entire reshifting of the entire court. I just wish we had people who are in the court who are young and connected to what's happening in the United States. I wish we had people in the court who it wasn't a distant dream for them to make rent on a house payment or a car loan.
That's the thing with all the politicians in general, right? I'm going to go through this and shorten some of this down. But so people in general, I feel like as you get older, right? Like you look at things like universal childcare and you're like, well, I didn't get any help paying for my childcare. Well, it's like, well, look at what could have happened if you did. Well, my kids had to pay for school lunch. And it's like, well, what could you have bought if you didn't have to pay for that? And we all pooled our money together on that, right? And so I feel like the older you get, honestly, I feel like you're looking out for your nest egg and you're looking out for yourself. In my opinion, from what I have seen, even in my own family, really, right, is that the older you get, like the less altruistic you become. And I think that right there is a reason why we need some term limits, right? And maybe my bubble just is that way. Maybe I'm wrong, right? But I'm telling you from my experience is that the older you get, from what I've seen, is kind of fuck everybody else. And do we really want that representing us? I don't know. Randall, do you grow up, do you have benevolent older people that you know? Because I feel like what I see, especially with our representatives and politicians, is just the older they get, they're looking out for what they're going to get. They're not looking out for kids anymore.
I feel like for a lot of older people, not just older people, but not to be ageist.
Well, we're talking about term limits, so we're going to get a little ageist. So
yeah, a little bit, but let's throw some money in there as well, right? Let's sprinkle some billionaires into this conversation, because when you look at like your benefactor or your benevolent person, I think the number of billionaires who have given away, a certain amount of their wealth, it equals like 2% of the world's billionaires have given. I'll have to look up the amount, but it was up to a percentage of their wealth away. None of them do. The point I'm trying to make is these people with billions and billions of dollars, or these people with political wealth when it comes to power, or these people that are old and in positions of elected officials, like you said, it comes down to preservation and keeping that the norm, right? They don't want to give up that power. And when you look at the Supreme Court, for example, I think it's too small for a number of reasons. But for example, like when you look at it, I said the last time the Supreme Court was expanded was in the 1860s, right? That was right after the United States came out of the Civil War, 1869.
The population was 5 million people back then too.
Yeah, 1869. How many people lived in the United States? And we're 330 million right now. How many people lived in the United States then? How many states were in the United States then? 1869 would have been before Washington was a state. Washington became a state in the 1880s. So like when it comes to all this, like do we have representation? Is it a representative government in terms of the Supreme Court? How does that come down? I'll have to do some more research before I talk about it and form an opinion and make an ass of myself. But like how I know presidents appoint justices who are confirmed by the Senate. But the point I'm trying to make is like, where is the average citizen's voice heard in that? Would it be vote for your senator then, who would then act on your behalf And when it comes to the confirmation process of these Supreme Court justices, is that how the cookie would crumble for like
Because
the average person to have their vote heard?
hold on, Randall, and I think that we're losing sight of the greater picture of why we even care, is because we're kind of talking and tangenting around education, right? And so they're cutting these education programs, they're dismantling the education department. And it's going to go in front of a court. It's going to go in front of the Supreme Court. And really, unless you're a billionaire or unless you're wealthy and you have your kids in private school and you're for school choice and fuck everybody else, unless that's what you're for, you're not going to benefit from this. And the Supreme Court is not going to vote in the greater, larger masses. It's not going to vote in our best interest. That is what it's about. They're not going to have our back. And there's nothing we can do about it, right? So that's why we're even talking about it, is because we feel like it's supposed to be like, what are we supposed to do?
The Supreme Court is supposed to be the end all arbitrator of all just, disagreement and discussion in the country. And if it's last time was updated and managed was in 1869, I'm also saying too, it's unfair if we want to see those changes for the positive, because it'll never come to fruition with the current makeup. And also, frankly, I don't feel that current makeup is representative of this government, or not this government, this country. I feel like it's too small. I feel like it hears far too many, too few of cases for how big the United States is, since it's grown to that size. I think that um, it would make them a better, demographic diversity. I'm trying to say of what the United States has become from 1860s till now. It went from white man with land is the only people who matter to anyone, any citizen. In the 1860s, the women couldn't vote. Women's votes and women's suffrage was was an entirely new concept that was just getting put forth to the Supreme Court back then. So it's just it's laughable to me that we hold the Supreme Court in such a like a it can't be changed mindset, because the people who are making the problems now for
Our
young
kids,
Americans
yeah.
are betting on that.
Well, and I honestly, I would say too that a lot of these people in power they're not looking out for the interest of our kids. They want them to be more debt slaves and wage slaves, and they, right, the republic, right, the ideal of the republic versus the democracy, right? Like they want to enshrine the more republic power rather than the democratic side of that, right? So,
Cool stuff, man. Interesting
yeah.
things to think about when it comes to the Supreme Court, for me at least. I'm also curious to know how many of our current the background law degree makeups of our current court. I feel like that's probably something that goes unsaid quite a bit. I I I, I imagine you watched it at some point, but I just recently have started to rewatch Better Call Saul.
I've
And
watched a few episodes of it. I haven't watched it full.
oh,
I've heard
dive
it's a
in,
great
man. Just
show.
do a deep dive and just watch all of it. It's
It
so good.
it's
But
hard in a
the one of the
small
things that I
house,
like though
man.
is it's
It's
not just
hard.
a show about, the cartel and all this, that, and the other. There's also some law sprinkled in there. Some Jag. Remember
Yeah.
Jag? Jag
Mm-hmm.
used to be a
Oh
good
yeah.
show too.
West Wing and Jag and
West Wing. Oh
NCIS.
God, West Wing was good. But the thing I'm trying to say though is like when you watch Better Call Saul, they'll talk about, it stars a series of different lawyers in it, and they'll be like, "What are you doing now?" He's like, "Oh, I've been focusing on elder law," or "Oh, I've been focusing on pro bono cases for court appointed law lawyers, or I've been focusing on banking law," and it kind of opens your mind to how wide the spectrum is for law cases and law degrees to specialize in. And I would love to see the makeup of our current court know where each one of them had their own like background. Like, are they a bunch of public defenders or like civil rights attorneys, or are they just like prosecutors and appellate judges and stuff like that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to know where they cut their teeth for their law degree, because that's important. And
I would wager a guess that many of them were not in things like workers' rights advocates and lawyers.
You see where I'm going with it?
They're not. They're corporatism.
Like, this is something that we get as the public, we get exposed to this during the confirmation hearings, right? But a lot of that, it's already been said and decided. That's just a show trial, essentially. You know what I mean? And we don't have any say when it comes to the election and nomination process of these people. But I wish, you know. If I know the width circumference of a quarterback's in the NFL drafts hand width, you know what I mean? I should know each one of these guys' background in law and stuff like that, because then that formulates, you know, where they sit on viewpoints and stuff. Because I highly doubt you're going to see you know, an attorney who deals with spousal abuse and stuff like that, and women's rights, and that person voting against women's rights, or you know, a guy who
Labor
deals
disputes.
with a guy who deals with like banking, you know, law and stuff like that, and him not having a problem with Donald Trump committing bank fraud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Or criminal defense. And don't have a problem with crimes against kids.
I saw something the other day.
Not a laughing matter. I'm just saying that.
No, none of this is laughing matter.
Not a laughing matter.
I did see something though the other day that did make me laugh, and it is not, again, on a laughing matter. But
maybe not then, Randall.
No, it's perfectly fine. It was saying that with the passage of the Epstein case, you know, Exposure Act, which itself is not going to expose anything, because in the fine print of that law we just passed with the Epstein Law Exposure Act, it says that they will release all classified information. So who knows what's going to come out. But I thought it was really funny. The thing I saw was the actress from Law and Order SVU, the main one.
Yeah.
I forgot her name.
Mariska Hargitay.
There you go. They said that they should have her read off the list when it comes out.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah, dude.
I saw that. That made me chuckle. I was like, you know what? That's not bad. That's pretty good.
Well, on the next episode of Knights of the Wrong Table, we're going to talk about everything that we wanted to talk about today. But you know what? I think it was an important episode today as well. We'll get into a little bit more about Mom Donnie and the effects of wealth out of control and the natural response to that. Talk a little bit more about Donald Trump's dealings in the Epstein files. And what was it you said, Randall? Maybe the next episode of the podcast, we're just going to do blindfolded on the train track smoking a cigarette, because is there any hope left at all?
The update of us when we've given up, we'll just start with, I'm John, and tying your blindfold on as I'm standing behind you already blindfolded, lighting a cigarette. I'm Randall, and here comes an oncoming train.
Because that's kind of how it feels right now. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you hopefully next week.